One of the big industries that or sectors the government is looking at is the non-oil sector, and in that non-oil sector is where you have agriculture and, of course, palm oil. It's one of the most consumed edible, if not the #1 in the world. So there's a new report from Afrinvest focusing on this global business and Nigeria's space in it, and that's what Abiola Gbemisola, who is an investment research analyst from Afrinvest, is discussing with us here in the studio. Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Good morning, Boason.
Abiola, great. I like palm oil. I grew up on a farm, so I know a little bit about the what they call how to get it done and all of that, the palm tree and palm kernels and all the traditional way of doing it. But it's not that rudimentary anymore. It's a global business. Definitely. It's worth billions.
65 billion naira. $65 billion.
$65 billion globally, yeah. And this is where we want to play. So, what is in this report? Give us some highlights about exactly why this should interest us.
Okay, so we decided to look at the oil palm sector in Nigeria, looking at the players and within the sector, the two main players listed on the Nigeria Stock Exchange, Okomo Oil and then Presco. We looked at their business, looked at their financial numbers, and then we spoke to the management of both companies to try to understand the business and what are their plans for the future going forward. What we could conclude following our discussion with them and our analysis is that for the sector, we believe that there's full steam ahead. Profitability and revenues for the sector will continue to grow into the future. And then we think that this is actually the right time for investors not yet positioned in these two stocks to try and position in them and take opportunities that present themselves.
Very interesting. So let's check in through with the global oil palm sector. Southeast Asia is the hub of global production of oil palm.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So one of the things driving oil production within Southeast Asia is that they've been able to invest very well in land plantations for oil palm. So based on our findings from the Food and Agri Organization, we realized that about 65% of global oil palm land resides within Southeast Asia. So you think about they have very large plantations that are as big as forest reserves being used to plant oil palm. So, which is not surprising when you think that about 80% of global production from Thailand, from Indonesia, both countries, Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia, contribute around 84% of global production. So we think that it will continue to remain like that for these countries because they've invested in the plantation, and output will continue to grow going forward into the future for them.
Yeah, if you look at the oil price and consumption and what you're looking at the market right now, I just checked with Bloomberg yesterday, it's just about $2,280 as far as palm oil is concerned. Okay. That's far way more than crude oil.
Yeah,
it's surprising. But if you look at this chart that you folks put together, thank you very much, is to say that we see the trend between the production and consumption almost on the same trajectory.
Yeah, so what we've seen for the market currently is that the market is in the oversupply status. And the oversupply status in the market is driven by, we've seen that recently in 2018, there was favorable weather condition. I think that began around 2016. Between 2016 and 2018, there's favorable weather condition in the oil palm market. So what that has led is that companies within that sector have continued to produce because the trees have produced enough fresh fruit bunches, even more than normal period, which is driven by the abnormality of the northern weather pattern. So we're also saying that even in terms of weak demand, demand prospect has also been weak. And this was driven by, we've seen recently in 2018 on this anti-oil palm campaign, especially in the EU, which is driven by animal rights activists saying that when oil palm is harvested in Southeast Asia, we've seen that the plantations are falling and the wildlife within those places have to be displaced and sometimes are killed. So we've seen that there's beginning to be anti-oil palm protests. So this has led to like a sort of weak demand for oil palm in the market. So based on these two dynamics, we've seen that oil price hits a 3-year low in 2018, around October 2018. But if you look at the chart, just as you presented, we've seen that in Q1 for the good part of 2019, we've seen that the price is increasing again. This increase in price is just being driven by what is happening in China. So China is celebrating their lunar year, So whenever they celebrate the lunar year, they demand, there's a lot of demand for oil palm. And again, this follows that China, India, and then EU are the biggest consumers of oil. So whatever happens between those three countries always determine what you see with oil prices.
Okay, bring it home. Bring it home. Let's talk about the Nigerian oil palm industry and our status as we see our own market share. We have the landmass, but we're not planting massively, okay. and I'm sure most of the trees we have are outgrow their productive years.
That's correct.
So, okay, so speak to this.
So within the market, Nigerian market, the Nigerian market is to control around 40% of the global market share between 1950s to 1960s, and which has actually tapered to about 1.4% today. A lot of factors can be said to have caused this decline. One of them is the fact that about 70% of total production is being controlled by smallholder farmers. So when you talk about smallholder farmers, you're talking about households and normal farms. Small farms are less than 100 hectares in terms of the capacity in terms of the hectares of the farm. So you're saying that about 70% of all the total production is being controlled by these smallholder farmers, which use crude methods to produce this oil. So because of
traditional method,
they use the traditional method, just like you described when you were growing up. So it still remains for Nigeria. This is even despite the fact that you've actually invested a lot. In terms of it took that the amount of land that's being used to plant oil palm is around 3 million hectares for Nigeria, which is actually significant. But the oil palm, the yields are actually low. We also attribute this to the type of oil palm seeds that are resident within Nigeria. So the Dura variety is actually more common within Nigeria, and this variety has a very thick shell. So the amount of oil that can be extracted from it is lower than Tenera, which is being planted in Malaysia. Okay,
so where do we go from here in terms of the pricing, the constraints, and how does it all come into the books of the listed oil palm companies? There are a few of them that are not listed on the market or delisted a few years ago, but they're still there as companies and they're still doing business. Okay. Maybe they'll come back to the market one day.
Yeah, we hope that they do come back to the market. The market is receptive of them to come back.
We'll work on them.
So for in terms of pricing within the market, in 2015, the CBN introduced the list of 42 items restricted from FX. That's a policy on its own. It's been one of the drivers of premium pricing within the markets currently. The market prices between Nigeria and the global prices are significantly different. The average prices, for example, in 2018, based on our estimates, Nigeria was around $1,300 for oil palm within Nigeria compared to the global price. The global prices are around $533 within 2018, based on our own estimates. So we think that because of this premium pricing, companies within the sector will continue to earn sustainable profits, given that these import restrictions remain. However, we think that some factors remain to be constrain the growth of the industry. For example, like I mentioned before, the fact that we have a large number of smallholder farmers within the industry is a significant drag to productivity within the industry. We think that. You want to say something?
Yes, we need to fix this issue of smallholder farmers. I think every time we're discussing commodities, this issue of smallholder farmers, and sometimes it doesn't look like it's peculiar to Nigeria. I think it runs across a major issue we need to fix in the agriculture sector.
Definitely.
In the African continent. But let's continue this conversation some other time, if you don't mind.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much. I know you've got a lot to talk about. You guys wrote about 42-page report. You want to spend 10 minutes to talk about it? It's quite a lot.
What we think is that investors should really report, and based on the report, they can be able to take positions and take decisions on them.
I'm not an investor, but I've read the report. And I'm sure those who want to make money will do a lot more digging than I did.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Gbemisola,
thank you.
Investment research analyst at Afrinvest. When we come back, of course, we'll go back to the marketplace. It's the morning after an August suspension and replacement. How's the market shaping up in the first hour of trading?